Scott Bessent, the Treasurer of the United States, is telling the world that the future financial system is on blockchain rails. This is going to level the playing field, and you start to wonder where Ripple and XRP fit in here. We also have some information that Ripple executives just met with the finance minister in Luxembourg. What does this mean for Ripple's licensing in the EU so they can operate across all 30 countries? Lots of information here from Monica Long talking about Ripple custody, brand new post, and we have some additional things towards the end here with Ripple and XRP all the time. Let's go, let's get it.
One of the biggest regulatory changes from the Biden administration to the Trump administration, there have been a lot of them, is our emphasis on AI and digital assets. Because AI in the Biden administration was governed by diffusion. They were going to treat it somewhat like the nuclear program, keep it in a box. They were going to hand it to Google, Microsoft, Meta, and that was life. On the other side, digital assets had a near extinction event with Wells notices going out to many companies, banks prohibited from opening accounts. And I think the fact that we're creating, the term is sandbox, where there's a lot of experimentation, where there are a lot more offerings, and for community banks not to be locked in that they have to use like one of three dominant service providers.
Okay, if you're not familiar with how the current banking system works, it kind of sucks. You have these larger institutions like JP Morgan, Citibank, HSBC that have spent a ton of money building out their infrastructure globally so you can send money across the world. If you are a smaller to mid-sized bank, though, you probably can't afford that extensive infrastructure. And so if you're trying to get a customer's payment to a certain place in the world, you might have to use the larger bank rails. And so mid-sized and smaller banks and credit unions often pay those bigger giants to use that infrastructure. And so what the future of payments will be is smaller to mid-size, and everybody else will have a lot more options. They could go to a company like Ripple and use RippleNet to move value instantaneously. The benefits here are you speed up payments for customers, you make them happy, right? Customer service. You're also reducing the cost of how much that payment is to send because you're not having to pay these bigger companies to do that. And so you really start to open up all of these new areas that banks couldn't before. And as far as tokenization of financial assets, I think that's the next wave that banks are going to be able to figure out their place in this world of how they can maybe custody your assets moving forward. But let's get back to this.
That for a wider range, if supply will push down price, choice will inform. Community bankers are, and the owners, whether they're family-owned banks, whether the shareholders are usually in the vicinity. And I think that they will be laser focused on the new technologies. And just like with the credit card companies, I think that new payment rails will exist. And I think we have to make sure it's open for everybody. JP Morgan, Bank of America may have their own stable coin, but I think it's very easy, and you'll hear two great participants that you will hear.
All right, it doesn't finish his clip, so let's just move on here. So Mr. Mann posted about this meeting here in Luxembourg. Let me give you the context so you know what's going on here. The events of October 9th, 2025 mark a critical junction in Europe's digital finance architecture, a visible bridge between regulatory readiness, market infrastructure maturity, and institutional onboarding. In Luxembourg, Finance Minister Gilles Roth met with Ripple executives, including Casey Croddick and Stuart Alderati, confirming Ripple's progress toward a full MiCA licensing within the EU. The timing seems very deliberate now that MiCA is fully operational across the bloc. Luxembourg is already the hub for funds, digital custodians, and European investment banks' blockchain bond operations, is positioning itself as a regulatory center for tokenized settlement and digital asset issuance. Ripple's move is strategic if Luxembourg's license connects it to the ECB and the ESMA's pan-European payments grid, while aligning with XRP Ledger-based cross-border payment solutions with SEPA and instant payment systems interoperability. Ripple's engagement coincides with the ECB's TIPS R 2025 October go-live window. the first to support programmable payments and multi-currency routing beginning October 9th, laying the technical foundation for digital euro pilots. Luxembourg's financial ecosystem, which is home to Clearstream, Swift's EU operation, and EIB's blockchain issuance, serves as the perfect junction for the ECB's next phase in integrating DLT settlement layers. And this is Rialto, Meridian, and regulated payment fabric. At the same time, European Stability Mechanism, also known as ESM, reaffirmed its role as the permanent crisis resolution mechanism for euro area states, emphasizing the stability layer between the digitization drive. The ESM is a predecessor for the EFSF, which both designed to act as a liquidity backstop in systemic stress scenarios, precisely the function needed while transitioning from legacy bonds to tokenized instruments and from national to supranational liquidity management. There's also, when Ripple engagement with the Luxembourg is viewed against the backdrop, it becomes evident that the EU is orchestrating a tiered alignment. The ECB and the BIS provide real-time infrastructure, which is TIPS, Target, Enbridge, Meridian X. The ESRB and ESMA and EBA are shaping prudential and macroeconomic guardrails for digital markets. The European Commission, through the Savings and Investment Union, is encouraging capital flow through tokenized investments channels backed by regulated frameworks like MiCA. The next phase, unfolding through 2026, will see integration of digital euro wallet prototypes into SEPA instant payments use cases, expansion of Ripple and Circle's presence in the regulated EU corridors, which is EURC and XRP as a stablecoin interoperability, the ECB and the ESRB pilots linking tokenized securities and TIPS and target settlement, enhanced oversight of MBFIs and digital asset funds, and liquidity pools become embedded in the European capital markets. So, man, that is a mouthful to say, but just showing you all the dots he is connecting here. Mr. Man XRP definitely laying the groundwork here. A lot of really good information. Did want to go ahead and show you some more pictures here. And then, of course, here is Gilles Roth. Let's just drop him a follow. He doesn't have many followers, but he is the Minister of Finance in Luxembourg. Getting the licensing done in Luxembourg will approve Ripple in all 30 EU countries. So that is what they're looking to do. Ripple is already wired into Target 2 through TAS. Network Gateway is set to power transactions for 2026 interoperability DLT system. Target 2, right? Ripple connected into this for a long time. I showed these documents long ago, but it looks like we're finally getting to a place where maybe some of this stuff is going to really start to kick in. That would be really cool. And then also he points out September 2025 Bank of Greece speech reveals 2026 launch of interoperable DLT target system linking crypto asset with central bank money. Start to wonder, what could this be? You know, I don't know. You tell me, guys. We all see the impressive figures involved in the crypto industry. The stablecoin sector only constitutes a $250 billion market today. If it asserted that $27 trillion moved through stablecoins last year, more Visa and MasterCard combined. Hence, we see that crypto instruments are now far from being a niche sector. They have become a substantial part of the financial ecosystem, but it is yet to be seen how the new ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem, balances its explosive growth with regulation and public trust. This is, in my view, the focus of interest, especially from central bank perspective. All right, Monica Long here. Ripple custody is the de facto technology used for the biggest banks in the world, including DBS, Societe Generale Forge, and BBVA. That's a bold statement, Monica. I love it. I absolutely love it. She goes on to say, now we're adding pre-configured operational and policy frameworks, additional HSM operations, XRPL fungible token to support compliance services with Elliptic, bringing the enterprise-grade products to crypto businesses. Bold, simplified onboarding, XRPL tokenization and DEX support, pre-configured policy frameworks, RT compliance monitoring, and new UI. Gotta have the new UI, man. It's gotta look good, right? It's not only gotta be fast, it's gotta be secure, but it's also gotta look real sharp. And man, that's really great to see. I'm not going to read all of this to you guys because I know I've done a lot of reading in this video, but it says, talks about new features and functionality will include US Cloud HSM. Ripple Custody is simplifying onboarding and deployment experience by providing customers with optionally to use HSM or a cloud provider of their choice. Pre-configured operational and policy frameworks. Deploy pre-configured Ripple Custody operational and policy frameworks and added features to simplifying and selecting, deploying, maintaining, and using Ripple Custody platforms. XRP integration allows for the integration of fungible XRP tokens, creating new opportunities for digital asset representation and unlocking liquidity with support of native DEX and XRPL companies can seamlessly trade assets with minimal fees. It talks about compliance integrations, a new integration with Elliptic for transaction screening services to help customers monitor transactions in real time and assess risk long term. And then, of course, we do talk here about BlackRock and VanEck. When I met with Paul Barron, we did discuss this. It's interesting that BlackRock only has $2 billion on chain currently right now, and VanEck's only about 70 million. So you really start to see out of this $7.4 trillion industry that we are really not even at a 0.5 or 1% of this value reaching on chain yet. The way to speed this up is through more connection, interconnectivity, and of course, Ripple as at the heart of all of this. Just to give you some additional context here before I let you go, investors in BlackRock's BillDeal and VanEck's VBill tokenized money market funds can now redeem fund shares directly for RLUSD through securitized smart contract infrastructure. RLUSD is issued one-to-one against liquid reserves and operates under New York Trust Company Charter. So listen, a lot of things happening behind the scenes with Ripple and XRP. Just an exciting time to be alive. Make sure that you're following. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like. Aloha.